This is a critical evaluation of a low-stakes assessment. This assessment is carried out during a seminar which is part of the Statistics and Research Methods module for first-year psychology undergraduates. The assessment is an in-class open-book test. Students have internet access and can ask staff for guidance, but not answers. Students are required to perform multi-step statistical tests and to report their answers online at various stages. The purpose of this task is to develop an understanding of how to get results from data and to prepare students for writing the results section of their lab report. To put this into context, this assessed task is part of a larger research project carried out and written up by students. This is within a seminar series in which the emphasis is the practical side of research. Learning to analyse data is an important part of this. The module learning outcomes are not currently explicit, so one improvement would be to define these. However, the module aims are explicitly expressed, and this task meets the aim to teach principles of statistical analysis with less emphasis on maths. The degree programme also has its own set of outcomes. This task contributes to students becoming independent researchers and using problem-solving and numeracy skills. 3 of the Oxford Brookes graduate attributes are met by this task. Academic literacy is met by developing disciplinary skills and knowledge. Research literacy is developed by using appropriate methodology and particularly by solving complex problems. Digital and IT literacy is met by helping students to become confident and agile users of technologies. In terms of the UK Professional Standards Framework, I have been developing as a teacher in several ways. This degree programme is also designed to meet standards outside of the university for accreditation by the British Psychological Society by showing high quality as a degree programme. Reflection. The biggest challenge of teaching on this module has been responding to the diversity of the students. We vary a lot in confidence, especially when it comes to maths. For example, I found that it wasn't useful to take a question from an individual and then respond to the class as a whole, because the pace of learning was so diverse. This is unlike other teaching that I've experienced. So rather than trying to keep the group at the same pace, I had to learn to alter the level of support and pace of teaching on demand and respond to the needs of individuals. Back to the task, I thought that the feedback of the assessment was useful to us as teachers to target our own and student weaknesses in later lessons, but I did feel that students could gain more from the post-assessment feedback if it was more detailed. It would promote more self-reflection. In class, students voiced that they were glad to use different types of support. They showed variation in the time taken on task and in the type of support they asked for. In conversation, I did notice that several students focused on the points they thought they were likely to get from the assessment and not on learning the methods. When I described the assessment to peers, their responses were mixed and often different to my own, which raised questions I hadn't thought about, especially about the appropriateness of the measure. According to literature, low-stakes assessments are excellent for confidence building, which is really important for our students. This assessed task meets several of the criteria for good assessments. Interestingly, maths anxiety and the diversity of this is the biggest challenge, not only in my classroom, but in classes around the UK teaching maths and social science. Advice for teaching this topic is to provide opportunities to practice data handling and use of technology, and to emphasise the usefulness of quantitative research methods. Teachers are advised to be aware of the different paces and have a variety of sources available to students. And I'm pleased to report that these are things we are doing already. To evaluate, the task seems good in terms of current teaching advice, and we have established that the task shows good alignment. In terms of validity, the task does measure the ability to complete data analysis using statistical tests, which is what we want to measure. The open book nature and the low stakes decreases the emphasis on maths, which meets the module aim. However, the open book approach was questioned by peers because students are given a lot of support for a summative task. Choosing to measure what students can achieve with guidance and support seems unusual in this question-answer format. However, it's not that dissimilar to the nature of coursework where students have access to support from a variety of sources. Furthermore, this style meets the diverse needs of students. The more able and confident students can work alone, and the less confident student had access to guidance. Overall, this method seemed an appropriate assessment for this topic. Students received feedback in several forms from this task. Initial feedback of the method was available from practice data and answers. Verbal feedback was available from staff in class, and then the total score of the assessment was sent to students at the end of the week. However, I do feel that this post-assessment feedback could be more detailed. The main items that are called into question, the post-assessment feedback and student motivation on the learning outcome and not the learning process. Although the post-assessment feedback is prompt, it has been advised that students are given the opportunity for reflection and self-assessment, and this was not promoted as well as it could be. So this is definitely an area for improvement. Assessment should encourage focus on learning process and not only learning outcomes. According to the literature, the low stakes should promote this to students, but from the classroom observation, it appears that this was not enough. The task itself seems to be a useful learning activity, preparing students for their research project. It meets module aims and criteria from wider bodies. Supports learning in a class where the confidence in maths is really diverse. Ways that are deemed most appropriate in the literature for this topic area. Low stakes are suitable for confidence building, which is important for these students in my class and similar classes around the UK. It's been useful for us as staff to reflect on our teaching practices, but there is room for improvement. Students could be provided with a breakdown of their marks, a worksheet, their own Excel files, and the correct answers. They should be given time to look over this and to discuss the feedback. This would align with the graduate attribute critical self-awareness and self-literacy. This change is something that I can address with members of my teaching team. Numeracy and problem solving is one of the key learning objectives for this whole degree. Learning methods behind research is important for conducting research, but also for understanding and critically reviewing research in psychology. I would like to see other modules promoting the usefulness of understanding research methods. Stressing the importance of quantitative research across the degree program might help provide an intrinsic motivation to learn for reasons other than grade. This is something I need to suggest to module leaders and the program coordinator. Hopefully these changes will be put into place and then the cycle of reflection and improvement can continue.